The laughter began the moment Ethan Cross stepped off the shuttle. It was not the polite, restrained kind of laughter that diplomatic species employed when they found something mildly amusing. It was the full-throated, multitonal bellow that echoed across the steel docking bay of the Galactic Coalition Academy, a sound produced by throats that had 4 vocal cords, 2 resonance chambers, and absolutely zero concept of human social courtesy. Ethan stood at the entrance of the academy, duffel bag slung over one shoulder, uniform pressed razor-sharp, jaw set like stone. He was 5'9", 160 pounds, with brown hair and unremarkable eyes. By human standards, he was lean but fit. By the standards of the 37 other species gathered in the docking bay, he was a hairless, brittle-boned joke. "That is a human," a Dravikian cadet sneered. The Dravikians were 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and skin like volcanic rock. Their champion fighter had once punched through a reinforced blast door. The one speaking, Krez, his nameplate read, crossed 2 of his 4 arms and smirked. "They sent us a child." "Humans have a saying," another alien whispered, a slender Valorian with 6 fingers on each hand. "What is it? Bark worse than the bite?" "I believe," Krez replied, "the human has neither bark nor bite." More laughter. Ethan did not look away. He did not flinch. He picked up his duffel, adjusted the strap, and walked forward through the crowd, calm, quiet, unhurried, as if the laughter were only wind. Inside, he found his bunk, unpacked in silence, and began reviewing the Academy's combat schedule. The Coalition Academy existed for one purpose: to forge the finest warriors, tacticians, and officers the galaxy had to offer. Cadets competed, sparred, drilled, and were ranked ruthlessly. Every species sent their best. The Valorians sent telepaths with reflexes 3 times faster than light stimulus response. The Murkai sent warriors who had survived volcanic birthrights. The Dravikians sent soldiers who had won interclan wars by the time they were teenagers. Earth had sent Ethan Cross. The instructors tried to be professional about it. Most managed. But even Senior Drill Marshal Yeva Torrens, a stone-faced Murkai woman who had seen 1,000 cadets break and rebuild, paused for just a fraction too long when she reviewed his biological profile. Calcium-based skeletal structure. Average tensile strength, 3.7 kilonewtons. Recommended combat pairing, non-contact simulation only. She looked up at him. He looked back. "You will be placed in standard combat rotation," she said finally. "Same as everyone else." "That's all I'm asking," Ethan replied. She almost smiled. Almost. The first 3 weeks were brutal. Ethan lost every sparring match. Every single one. He was thrown, pinned, swept, and twice launched completely off the mat. He never tapped out early. He always got back up. He absorbed each loss without complaint, without excuse, without a single word of protest. The other cadets found this strange. In their cultures, continued failure was either cause for withdrawal or cause for rage. Ethan showed neither. He simply returned to the mat the next day, adjusted something small in his stance or timing, and tried again. "What is wrong with it?" Krez asked another cadet one evening, watching Ethan review combat footage on a datapad alone in the corner of the mess hall. "Does it not feel pain?" "Humans feel pain," the Valorian, Scylla, replied. She had begun watching Ethan more carefully than the others. "They feel it quite acutely, actually. Their nervous systems are remarkably sensitive." "Then why does it keep returning?" Scylla tilted her head. "I think," she said slowly, "that is the question you should be asking yourself." By week 5, something had shifted. Ethan began winning. Not all his matches. Not even most. But he began winning some, and the wins were strange, economical, sudden, and difficult to explain. He was not beating opponents with strength or speed. He was beating them with geometry. With timing so precise it looked like prediction. With an understanding of leverage, momentum, and joint mechanics that seemed almost algorithmic. He had been studying. Every loss had been data. Every throw, every pin, every impact, logged, analyzed, and cross-referenced against the physiology of whoever he was fighting. He had built a personal database of weakness mapping. Every species at the Academy had a structural vulnerability he had quietly identified, catalogued, and practiced countering. Scylla watched him submit a Morkai cadet twice his size using a wrist lock configuration that exploited the triple joint flexibility gap in Morkai forearm anatomy, a gap even the Morkai themselves rarely thought about. She leaned forward in her seat. "Remarkable," she murmured. The challenge came in week 7. Commander Kale Veyron was not a cadet. He was the Academy's resident combat instructor for advanced close-quarters engagement, a Dravikian legend who had competed at the Coalition Grand Games twice, medaled once, and whose name was used in half the galaxy as a reference point for physical dominance. He was 600 pounds of structured violence. He had 4 arms, reinforced natural bone density, and reflexes honed over 40 years of combat. He had also, apparently, heard about Ethan. He came to the training floor during open sparring hour, unexpected, unannounced, and stood at the edge of the mat. The entire room went quiet. "I am told," Veyron said, his voice a low, layered rumble, "that the human has been winning matches." He looked at Ethan directly. "I would like to see this." The room filled with anticipatory energy. Cadets moved back without being asked. Krez grinned with all of his teeth, a lot of teeth. Ethan put down his water, stepped onto the mat, and said, "Okay." Veyron looked almost amused. "You accept?" "You asked." Veyron rolled all 4 of his massive shoulders and stepped forward. What happened next was over in 4 seconds. Veyron launched with his dominant right pair, a classic Dravikian double-strike combination, faster than it had any right to be for a creature his size. The force behind it could have caved a vehicle door. Ethan was not there. He had moved, not backward, not sideways, but through, ducking under the trajectory, inside Veyron's reach, one hand on the commander's lead wrist, the other finding the precise posterior pressure point beneath the commander's forward left elbow. He did not fight the momentum. He borrowed it, redirected it with a single rotational pivot that used Veyron's own mass as the primary engine. 400 pounds of Dravikian commander went off balance in a direction he had never fallen in his life. Ethan followed, controlled, precise, guiding the fall rather than forcing it, and Veyron hit the mat face down, Ethan's knee on the back of his primary shoulder, wrist rotated into a hyperextension lock that would dislocate with the application of approximately 11 pounds more of pressure. Ethan applied 9. The room was silent. Veyron lay still. Not from inability to move, Dravikians did not freeze from pain. He lay still because he was thinking, rapidly and thoroughly, about the fact that he could not break the hold without guaranteed joint destruction, and that this human child had put him there in less time than it took to blink. "Yield," Ethan said quietly. Not triumphantly. Not angrily. Just a question requiring an answer. A long pause. "Yield," Veyron said. Ethan released the hold and stood up. He offered his hand. After a moment, a very long moment, Veyron took it, and Ethan helped the commander to his feet. Nobody laughed. Veyron did not speak about the match immediately. He walked to the edge of the mat, stood with his back to the room, and was quiet for a long time. When he finally turned around, his expression had changed into something that, on a Dravikian, was extremely rare. Respect. Genuine, uncomfortable, recalibrating respect. "How?" he said. Ethan tilted his head slightly. "You have a posterior elbow vulnerability in your lead arm during a double strike extension. The joint overextends by roughly 4 degrees beyond what you can compensate for in mid-motion. Your momentum at that velocity made reversal geometrically impossible once I was inside your reach." Veyron stared at him. "I documented it in week 2, Ethan said. I've been waiting for a chance to test it." Week 2. I document everybody. Ethan paused. No offense. Veyron was quiet again. Then he did something no one in the room had ever seen him do with a cadet. He bowed. Small. Precise. But unmistakable. You are not what I expected, Veyron said. No, Ethan agreed simply. We rarely are. That evening, Scylla found Krez alone in the corridor outside the training bay. He had not spoken since the match. She studied his expression, the particular flatness of someone whose framework for the universe had just been quietly, permanently rearranged. Still think he has no bark or bite, she asked. Krez said nothing for a long time. Humans, he finally said, with a weight to the word that had not been there before, something between bafflement and reluctant awe, are terrifying. Scylla smiled. Yes, she said. They are. Across the galaxy, 37 species had sent their best. Earth had sent Ethan Cross. It was enough.